I'm not one for chaos. Give me my coffee at dawn, my wife tending her roses by 8, and a morning free of explosions, literal or otherwise. That's my kind of peace. So when the homeowners association decided to mess with the wrong family, they didn't just trample a flower bed. They lit a fuse I've spent decades teaching folks not to touch. What would you do if someone laid hands on your spouse in your own front yard? I'm Ethan Brooks, and this story still sets my blood on fire. We'd been living in Willow Creek, a sleepy suburb outside Raleigh, for 4 years by the summer of 2023. It was the kind of place where the biggest drama was a late garbage pickup. I'm a guy who trains crisis response teams think high-stakes, life-or-death scenarios. Home was my sanctuary, where I could leave the adrenaline behind. My wife, Lily, is a painter, but her real love was our garden. She'd be out there every morning, her old straw hat tilted just so, whispering to her plants like they were old friends. I'd watch her from the porch, promising myself I'd just take a minute. It always turned into 20. That garden was her heart, and those moments were ours. But looking back, I see that calm the way a hunter eyes a too-still forest. Trouble was coming. Last spring, Lily entered the HOA's garden contest with her roses vivid, crimson blooms that climbed trellises like they were reaching for the sky. When she won first place, her smile could have lit up the whole county. The HOA president back then, a kind old guy, even asked her to judge the next year's contest. Lily was thrilled, already sketching out her next planting. But then he retired to Arizona, and everything shifted. Enter Vanessa Klein, the new president. She had a stare that sized you up and found you wanting. The day she knocked on our door, she didn't just introduce herself, she pointed out our slightly crooked mailbox and suggested we fix it before it becomes a problem. Lily mentioned her to me one evening, her voice careful. She's intense, she said, always trying to see the good in people. I should have known then that Vanessa wasn't just particular. She was a storm in a blazer. The trouble started with a new rulebook Vanessa hand-delivered to every house, her clipboard clutched like a scepter. It was labeled Community Standards for Visual Excellence and read like it was written for a royal estate. Rules for fence heights, approved paint colors, even curtain styles visible from the street. Buried on page 17 was a list of acceptable flora. Roses weren't banned, but they weren't listed either, erased like a bad memory. Lily's face fell when she saw it, like someone had canceled her birthday. Maybe it's a mistake, she whispered, but her voice carried doubt. Those roses were her pride, grown from cuttings she'd nurtured for years. I told her to plant them anyway. Call it a hunch, call it years of spotting tyrants in training. But Vanessa had the look of someone who'd push until she met a wall. So Lily planted her roses, same spot as last year, pouring love into every seed. She was nervous, kept asking if we should switch to marigolds from the approved list. Worst case, I told her, we'll handle it. Famous last words. The first green shoots appeared, and 7 days later, a letter arrived. Not just any letter, thick, official, stamped with violation notice in bold red. It accused us of planting unauthorized flora in violation of Section 4.8, demanding we remove the roses within a week or face a $600 daily fine. $600 a day for flowers in North Carolina in 2023. I laughed at the absurdity, but then I saw Lily at the kitchen table, that letter in her hands, her joy crumbling. Maybe I should pull them up, she said, barely audible. That's when something cold and sharp settled in my chest. This wasn't about roses. It was about control. Vanessa had picked my wife as her punching bag, and I wasn't having it. I put my hands on Lily's shoulders and looked her in the eyes. This isn't about flowers, sweetheart. It's about power. And she just chose the wrong fight. Vanessa didn't let up. She'd drive by our house, slow and deliberate, like she was casing the place. Neighbors who used to wave started avoiding eye contact. One morning, Lily caught our next-door neighbor frowning at the rose patch, muttering something under her breath. The pressure was building, and I could see it weighing on Lily. I told her Vanessa was all bark, no bite. I was wrong. Dead wrong. It happened on a Wednesday. I was in Charlotte, running a 3-day training for a security firm, intense work that demands focus. Lily knew not to call unless it was urgent. When my phone buzzed at 2:47 p.m., I stepped out of a drill and answered. Hey, honey, you okay? Her voice was thin, trembling. Ethan, they pushed me. For words that turned my world red. I gripped the phone, my training kicking in to keep me calm while every instinct screamed, "Are you hurt? Tell me exactly what happened." Through tears, she told me. Vanessa and a guy named Carl Big, linebacker build, HOA badge pinned on like a joke, showed up at our door. Lily was tending her roses when the bell rang. Thinking it was a delivery, she answered. Vanessa, clipboard in hand, said, "Today's the deadline. Remove those roses or we'll act." Lily stood firm. "My husband will handle it when he's back." That's when Vanessa's fake smile vanished. "Your husband's not here, dear," she said, nodding at Carl. He stepped forward and shoved Lily hard, sending her stumbling into the rose bed. She hit the ground, bruising her arm against a stake. The worst part? Vanessa's face. Not shock, not regret, satisfaction. I was already heading for the airport, my mind racing through plans and contingencies. "Are you hurt? Do you need a doctor?" She said it was just scrapes, but I heard the fear, the violation. Someone had attacked my wife in our own yard because she wouldn't bow to their rules. "I'm coming home," I said, booking the first flight. I canceled my contract, apologized to the team, and spent 4 hours in transit plotting. This wasn't about roses anymore. It was about crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I'm not a violent man, but I know how to fight. My job's taught me that real power isn't in fists, it's in making your enemy realize they've miscalculated before they know they're in a war. Vanessa thought she was bullying a quiet couple. She had no idea who she was up against. When I got home, Lily was holding frozen peas to her shoulder, the bruise a dark, angry purple. Seeing it ignited something primal, a rage I hadn't felt since my early days in crisis work. I held her, letting the reality sink in. Someone felt entitled to hurt my wife over flowers. Then I got to work. For an hour, I recorded her statement, took photos of her injuries, and documented every detail with the precision of a federal case. Lily kept asking what I was planning. "Police, a lawyer?" "Not yet," I said, organizing files. "First, I need to know who we're dealing with." The next morning, I told Lily I had errands. Instead, I went hunting. At the county office, I pulled property records, permits, and zoning laws for every house in Willow Creek. The clerk raised an eyebrow, but I smiled and said, "Just a curious homeowner." Then I drove the neighborhood, camera in hand, photographing every property, focusing on recent additions. To anyone watching, it looked like I was building a lawsuit. Let them think that. I was after something bigger: Vanessa's vulnerabilities. By noon, I hit gold. Vanessa's house, the neighborhood's showpiece, had a stunning deck and a glass conservatory, easily worth $80,000. Gorgeous, professional work. Also completely illegal. No permits filed for either, built in 2021 and 2022. City Code 14.3 stated unpermitted structures could mean $90,000 in fines and mandatory demolition. The irony was poetic. The woman who fined us for roses was sitting on a legal landmine. I spent the afternoon crafting a response: not a lawsuit, not a confrontation, but a precision strike. I drafted a letter, included photos of her illegal structures, and highlighted the ordinances. The final line took 5 tries to get right. "You're the HOA expert. I'm a different kind of expert. Let's talk, Ethan." No threats, just facts, letting her imagination do the heavy lifting. At dusk, I sent it certified mail, knowing it'd hit like a grenade. That night, we ate dinner by Lily's roses. She kept asking what I'd done, but I just smiled. "Be patient." At 8:45, Vanessa's SUV pulled in. From our window, we saw her grab the mail receipt and rush inside. Minutes later, every light in her house blazed. Shadows darted behind blinds, and muffled shouting carried across the street. Lily grabbed my arm. "Ethan, what did you do?" Before I could answer, Vanessa appeared at her window, staring at our house. I didn't wave. I just watched, letting her feel the shift. Our phone rang at 9:15, then again. We didn't answer. Let her sweat. Vanessa fought back, predictably. She started with gossip, whispering to neighbors that I was unstable, a former security guy with issues. By day 2, she'd escalated, confronting a neighbor about my suspicious photography. By day 3, she sent an email to the entire HOA list, safety alert. It painted me as a paranoid ex-soldier stalking the neighborhood, complete with photos she'd snapped of me. Clever, but desperate. It worked, briefly. Neighbors stopped waving. The mail carrier left packages at the curb. One evening, a neighbor whispered to Lily that Vanessa had asked if I had mental health problems. Lily came home furious, slamming drawers. "She's calling you dangerous after what she did to me." That's when I knew Vanessa had overplayed her hand. She'd hurt Lily again, not with fists but with lies, and that was her second mistake. "We're not running," I told Lily, who was staring at her roses, talking about moving. "What if we invite everyone over? Show them who we are, not who Vanessa says we are." She looked at me like I'd lost it. "A party?" "No, not a party," I said, typing an invite. "A barbecue, all-American, burgers and beers. Let them see the dangerous guy is just a husband who loves his wife." Lily caught the glint in my eye and knew I was planning more than hot dogs. The barbecue took 4 days to plan, every detail a chess move. Lily designed invitations with Rose sketches, and we hand-delivered them, smiling, normal, the opposite of Vanessa's lies. Half the neighbors were curious, half cautious, but they came. Saturday was perfect, 78 degrees, clear skies. By 4:30, 30 people filled our backyard, eyeing me over paper plates. I grilled, chatted, and watched their micro-expressions. The turning point came when a neighbor, Tom, asked about the photos. "Heard you've been snapping pictures. What's that about?" The crowd hushed. I set down my beer. "Glad you asked. I train people to protect communities from threats. Funny thing is, I'm the one being threatened here." I told them about Lily's assault, Vanessa's enforcer, the roses. The mood flipped. I wasn't the villain, I was the guy whose wife got shoved over flowers. Neighbors shared their own Vanessa stories, fines for Christmas lights, warnings about kids' bikes. When someone asked about HOA dues $700 a year with no visible improvements, I saw my chance. Ever wonder where that money goes? We can request an audit. Totally legal. I happened to have a petition ready. By dusk, I had 28 signatures, 3/4 of the neighborhood. 3 days later, an email from Carver Auditing Services announced a full financial review. Vanessa called an emergency HOA meeting, her email screaming desperation, urgent financial needs. The community center was packed, the air electric. Vanessa looked rattled, hair messy, hands shaky. She pitched a $20,000 emergency repair for a clubhouse roof, but her story fell apart under questions. "Where's the inspection report? Who's the contractor?" I stood. "Can you show us any proof for this $20,000? She stammered, and the room turned. The motion failed, 48-5. As she packed up, I leaned in. "Nice meeting. See you at the audit." Her eyes showed fear, real fear. The audit meeting was standing room only. The accountant, a no-nonsense woman, laid it bare, $14,392 missing, tied to fake vendors and transfers matching Vanessa's home upgrades. I stood and played Lily's recording. They pushed me down. Vanessa just watched. The room erupted. Vanessa screamed it was an accident, but Carl stood. She told me to teach her a lesson. "Push her if you have to." The silence was deafening. Then chaos, calls for resignation, lawsuits, charges. A vote ousted Vanessa, 56-0. By morning, her moving truck rolled out under silent stares. Weeks later, Lily and I planted new roses, 4 varieties, all permitted. "Just in case they try again," she said, grinning. Sometimes, the quiet guy is the most dangerous when his family's at stake. Vanessa learned that the hard way. What would you have done? Fought back or walked away? Would you risk it all for a garden? Drop your thoughts below, hit like if justice feels good, and subscribe for more stories where the little guy wins big.